Hi and welcome to another edition of OnSide SA. Budge and I will be going through things with our pundit overseas, Steve Braham. And first things first, last one standing, 8 left, Budge.
8 left, Paul, can you believe it?
Three
a couple
women.
of smashes last weekend. Didn't see Liverpool not winning, but sadly the guys went out on them.
Liverpool, that's right. Liverpool went out, Fulham dropped 3, Everton. So 8 left. 3 went through an Arsenal, Man United, West Ham and Tottenham. That's Andre from
Van
Tottenham.
Now.
Right, the 3 ladies left, Marlene Laveau, Renee Ruiz and Kelly Potts from Florida.
Yeah, hanging in the girls, Paul. This could be it.
They've never won one, eh?
No, this is the closest the girls have got, 3 and 8, so good luck.
The guys trying to stop them from winning.
Yeah.
Paddy Loka Phineas, Mark Fullion, Jordan Story, Brett Galley, and Andre from Tottenham. Andrew
He's done well.
Boston.
Andre done great,
Boston,
Paul.
she's done very well. Phineas has got into top 3 before.
Yeah, him and Robbie Burns, they got snared, Paul. But yeah, Paul, you know, just on the picks, 4 of the guys can use Arsenal. Whether they're going to use them this week at home to Bournemouth, I don't know.
Jeez,
So yeah, Paul, you just never know. And the way Arsenal are going, you would think so, but. You know, just how it is. And Paul, just to mention, I had a beer with a couple of guys last night. The last competition starts next weekend.
Next weekend,
yeah.
We'll get it out there.
We'll get it out there, but we'll still let everybody know.
All right, excellent. And let's get hold of Steve B. Let's see what's happening in his neck of the woods.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Yeah, we won't mention last one standing, Steve. Who took you out? It was Wolves, wasn't it?
Wolves, yeah, took half the people out.
Yeah, that's true. Huh?
Yeah, jeez. I'm just quickly looking over the league results. Arsenal way too good for Everton. Didn't let them
4-0.
get a double. And Liverpool came through to win late.
Yeah. You know, I saw they scored a goal, was disallowed for the foul. Then from the set piece, they scored again. Always looked they were going to win, but Wolves are one of those teams, Paul, I wouldn't like to play. They tend to, like, I wouldn't say ruin the game, but stop-start.
Yeah.
You know, not for me. But
not as fluid as they used to be a year or 2 ago. They were really a good, slick passing team.
Lost a lot of good players, Paul.
Yeah, they sold.
You know, Jota, they've sold a few. But yeah, well done to Liverpool. Sets them up nicely for the big game on the weekend. Steve, you got to go FA Cup. And, you know, Tuesday night, you know, I tipped for the Cup, Brighton, sneak past Stoke. I watched a bit of that. I can't believe Leicester lost to Blackburn.
Leicester have won one game, I think, lately. 4-1 they beat Spurs.
Yeah.
That's how erratic we are.
Jeez.
They get thumped everywhere else they go,
Yeah.
and they come and beat us. No.
I just couldn't believe that. Fulham, Steve, I watched your game. It was a good game.
Good
By
game.
the last 20 minutes where you're hanging on, it was a very good game.
Yeah. I mean, we rode our luck a little bit, but we scored 2 fantastic goals that probably deserved to win any game. And look, again, we rotated. He rested half a dozen players, brought 1 or 2 on, but you know, it was a solid. It was a good game, and obviously we were all excited about getting through to the 6th round until our name came out that had to go to Old Trafford. But
well, you never know the way, Steve. The way United played last night, you would have been 2 up, and you could have gone through because that was a woeful performance. And fairness.
Well, I think that was again the whole thing about rotating. I mean, United in the end. I mean, it was a poor performance in the first sort of hour. They had to bring the big guns on, and once they did, and as soon as they scored it, it looked like they were the only team who were going to win. But look, you know, to win the cup, you've got to beat one of the big boys at some point. Yeah. So I was convinced we were going to draw City away. We have a few times in recent years, and in fact we've drawn United a few times. We have a very poor record in the FA Cup against them. But look, it's a huge game, and you know, we're into the last 8, first time in 12 years.
Yeah. Paul, I know you've been seeing, you know, what's a little bit of this. I just can't believe, like, Tottenham, great club, great cup history, and Kane's on the bench.
Used to have a great cup history.
Yeah.
Won out this 4th year in a row going at this league. You got a quality side. You take all the big guns up there.
Yeah.
Barring injuries. You leave Romero on the bench. You leave Kane on the bench. Yeah, Skips just had a good game. Get ahead.
Yeah.
Get ahead. Those guys thumped him. I was screaming at the ref, that's a yellow card. That's a yellow card. They kicked hell out of a lot of guys. And to me, I thought the ref was lenient. But having said that, they are like battlers.
Yeah.
They really fought, won every tackle, won everything. But we didn't have the ability to beat them.
Yeah.
You know, we had a cane header very late. Otherwise, there wasn't much to shout about. Richarlison, Song, a passenger again. Sanchez, woeful, right? It's like Robbie Martin and BG Continental. Woeful. Even the commentators saying, what has gone wrong with this guy? Sanchez. Stumbled over the ball, fallen over the ball, can't pass from A to B. And there's some of the guys, you know, held their own, but so disappointing. You can't go and lose to championship side. Remember, we went out the Caribou Cup, we ran away to Forest.
Yes.
We got beat. We went away to these Muppets, we got beat. And then we go and beat Chelsea, we go and beat Man City.
Beat Man City.
It's a disgrace.
Yes. My annoyance is those fans travel a long way to get there. They pay a lot of money, and that's what you get.
That's what you get served up. What is it when we play in fair opposition? Do they think we're a shoo-in to win every time? The effort's not there.
Yeah, that's it. Me, I'd take a week's salary off them. That would be me. That's the only way. Unfortunately, you can't, but disappointing. Burnley, I saw the red card last night, the Fleetwood guy. Geez, a kamikaze tackle. They sneaked in 1-0. In Southampton, you can't beat Grimsby. 2 penalties they got. Yeah. But
they had a runaway after the centre-half tried to pull it down and bounce behind him. The boy was clear. Yeah. They should have beaten him kindly. But once they brought on their big guns, classic mistake again.
Just get 2-0 up, take them off.
Yeah. Once they brought on the big guns, it was one-way traffic. Yeah. They were 88% possession when I was watching. So, you know, I'm all good and well, but hey, try and win the cup.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think for the fans, Paul, I must go and pay my hard-earned money to watch you, and that's what you're putting out. Yeah. And Grimsby came with a few thousand fans, and good luck to them, you know.
Levy's just taken a pay rise. I don't know where these guys come from. We haven't won anything since the Dead Sea was on the critical list, but that's how bad it is.
Anyway, just to go through the cup draw, Saturday, March the 18th, Man United, Fulham, Man City, Burnley. No, there's a game on there. Brighton, Grimsby, FA Cup tip, and Sheffield United, Blackburn. I think that's what annoyed me more than anything, Paul. Would have been Spurs, Blackburn at home. 4-0 semis, here we come. Anyway, on to the Premiership for the weekend.
We need his input, Steve.
We're talking about City, Man City, that is. Big game at home to Newcastle, Steve. You know, Newcastle...
Yeah, I mean, look, Newcastle obviously have taken their eye off the ball a little bit in the league with the Carabao Cup, and now that's out the way. They need to refocus because I can see them. I can see Liverpool catching them or Tottenham anyway. But I think this is going to be a tough game. City, had 1 or 2 little blips. They bounced back last weekend. I think that City should run out. Winners by a couple of goals here.
Yeah, even money, Man City to win by more than 1. Totally agree, Steve. Anything is lunchtime kickoffs. Anything is possible, but it's pressure time for City. Arsenal won last night, 5 clear. They've got to put the foot on the pedal, but I totally agree. Arsenal, Steve, surely they've got to be too good for Bournemouth.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? I mean, after once they got the first goal last night, then it was only a matter of how many they were going to score. Bournemouth were well and truly beaten by City last weekend. Yeah. You know, it's a funny game, but on paper you would expect this to be a 2 or 3 goal win for Arsenal. And again, if they need to keep putting that pressure on City and keep winning the game. So Bournemouth. I don't think this is the sort of game that will define Bournemouth's season. I mean, they're in trouble, but I suspect they'll be saving their powder dry for the games they can win, and I think Arsenal should win this comfortably.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, last week against Man City, the same thing. Yeah, it looks like they said, all right, well, let's just not get beat 7 or 8. Got beat 4-1. You know, I agree. Yeah. Just go there, get beat 2 or 3-0, and then walk away, keep everything intact for the bigger fish to fry later on. Now, my best bet of the weekend, Steve, Aston Villa at home to Palace. Having watched Palace against Liverpool, they can't score goals. Now, I know Sahar's expected to be back.
The big guns can't beat them when they go there.
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing how they can hold the big guns at home.
Yeah, Paul, they just park the bus and hang in, But Salah should have hit the crossbar. But at Villa Park, one thing Villa can do is score goals. They had Watkins in them. And I'm expecting a comfortable victory here, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Villa will be favourite. I don't know about comfortable because Palace, they're a hard team to beat, especially when, as you say, when they were under. It's interesting because they seem to be reverting to type. Under Roy, they had the sort of lowest possession of any team in the Premier League. They sat back and with Sahar and people, they caught teams on the break. under Vieira they've been a little bit more expansive, but since the World Cup they've reverted a type a bit. I mean, they can't buy a win. They've been struggling, but teams don't find it easy to beat them. And as you say, they've held some big teams at home. Yeah. But I suspect Villa, with Watkins seem to have found his scoring boots. They don't seem to be missing Danny Ings, and I think Villa will should come out on top.
Yeah, Palace 4 goals in the last 8 league games.
Sounds like Chelsea.
Yeah, I think they're worse. Anyway, going on to Brighton West Ham, Steve. I was disappointed in West Ham last night. That game was there for the winning.
For the taking, yeah.
Brighton, they're taking the cup seriously. I know it was a fluky 1-0, but Stoke's not the easiest place to win. I don't see Brighton losing, Steve. I know they score a lot of goals, but they're not blitzing teams like they used to. And West Ham are a funny team.
They're not as glossy as they were a month back. Yeah.
I mean, in the league, look, last weekend, West Ham were in a must-win game, and once they scored that first goal, then it was a very comfortable win for them. I think West Ham are still not safe, and they're certainly not out of it. So I would expect David Moyes to play his absolute strongest available team down there, and I think it will be a close game. It wouldn't surprise me if West Ham pinch your points. I don't think they're going to be easily beaten. They'll be disappointed having sort of taken the lead last night, but sort of really that last sort of 20 minutes they were never really in it. And I think Brighton should start as favourites, but I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham hold them.
Yeah, only thing is West Ham's last 10 away league games have got 3 points. So you just can't believe that. But and they've got they've had a good season last year in Europa Conference League. But this will be a tight game. Now Chelsea, I couldn't believe their last 15 league games, Paul, 8 goals. Their last 9 games, they scored 4 goals. And they've spent hundreds of millions on players, and no one, for me, seems to want to get in and go where it's hurt. They want the nice touch.
He doesn't know what his best team is, but he's got to pick it. He's got to stick with him.
He's got to play Havertz number 9. The rest are nowhere. Steve, surely they've got to beat Leeds. I know Leeds fought well against Fulham, but
I mean, this is it. I mean, we've been saying this for a number of weeks.
Yeah.
Surely Chelsea should beat Southampton. Surely Chelsea, and they look so disjointed at times against Southampton and against Tottenham as well, especially when they went a goal down. It's they're a team of dysfunctional individuals who they're not. As you say, Graham Potter has no idea what his best 11 is.
Yeah.
He keeps chopping and changing. I think all the Chelsea fans, as far as they're concerned, he's completely out of his depth. Yeah. But the chairman, the new guy, Todd Bowley, is obviously being very stubborn about it. Doesn't want to lose face.
Yeah.
And at what point, if they lose again, or if they, for me, I think if they go out to the Champions League, I think, and they haven't progressed in the league, I can't see what the benefit is in keeping Graham Potter there.
Yeah.
It's when you hear his post-match interviews, unfortunately he just seems to have little clue. Last weekend after the Tottenham game, he said the players gave their all. Well, if that's their best, it obviously isn't good enough. So I think they will probably scrape a win because Leeds find it hard to score.
Yeah.
But if they don't win that Chelsea, you just got to feel that their season is grinding to a very painful halt.
Yeah, make or break this week. I think they're playing Europe in midweek, don't they, Steve? It's a second leg against Dortmund. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the point. If this is a huge game. I mean, they probably should not have lost in Dortmund. They had enough chances, but if they can't turn it round, then their season is pretty much over.
Yeah. Well, great chance to turn it around against the Leeds side. They've plenty of effort, but can't score. Big game for the weekend for Paul especially. Now, I tipped Spurs last week to win when Paul didn't fancy them against Chelsea. I'm tipping them to beat Wolves. As woeful as they were last night, a lot of pride. They've got to be thinking, hang on here, 4th place is our season. This is it. Wolves are woeful. I hate watching them play.
I think
12 to 10, Paul.
I think we'll beat them.
Yeah.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, look, I saw Wolves last Friday at Fulham, and first half, 20 minutes, they played very well.
Yeah.
But second half, once we got on top, it was quite, they kept, as you said, they kept slowing the game down. At every opportunity, they were rolling around on the floor, wasting time. It wasn't pretty. I think, look, Tottenham have got to bounce back from last night. I mean, I think Liverpool, with getting players back, are going to be on a charge thirds, for that fourth Champions League place. Tottenham can't afford to slip up at places like this. So I think that Conte and Strelly are going to demand a reaction from the effort they put in last night. So I think you're right. I think they should start as favourites, and if they don't win it, I think it'll be pretty disappointing.
Good things again. Now, Southampton, Leicester. I don't know what's going at Leicester, but every time I watch them, if Maddison doesn't play, they're not the same team. And I think a lot of those players want out.
Tielemans injured now?
Well, he's been on the bench, he's in and out, and he's a Belgium international, he's a good player. I don't know what's going on. I think there's going to be a mass exodus at the end of the year at Leicester. Well, Southampton, if they don't win this, they're in trouble. I like Southampton of the two teams. I think they've got more fire in them, and I think they need it more. What do you think?
Well, look, I mean, apart from that win at Chelsea, I mean, their run in the league has been abysmal. But the thing is, no one's adrift at the bottom. They are bottom, but they're only 3 points behind, from safety. So, but as Leicester, they looked like they were going to pick up recently, and then all of a sudden they've started losing again. There's something is not right there. I mean, the players they've got, Leicester, should be doing far better. Yeah. Southampton have got a shocking home record. It's by far the worst in the Premier League. I think Leicester can get something there. I think that Brendan Rodgers again is going to demand. He'll put out his best 11, obviously, that are available. I think Tielemans is injured, I understand, but otherwise, if Maddison plays, then you've got to feel that they've got to get at that point there.
Yeah, no, I agree. But just when you watch them, Steve, there's no urgency. I watched a bit against Blackburn the other day. They were losing tackles. Yeah, it's a cup game. They won the cup a couple of years ago. Come on, guys. Roll the sleeves up. Let's have a go here. Yeah. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's not a rosy camp. Talking of behind the scenes, I've gone back and forwards in this game. Other than bookings, I like Forest of the two teams, but it won't be an easy game. Everton, Sean Dyche's teams don't give it. I know they got beat 4-0 last night. The second goal crucified them. But if ever there's a game I think is going to end in a draw, Steve, I think this is the game of the weekend. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that. It was a poor result. I think everyone expected them to get beaten last night, but it was a poor result to lose at the weekend at home to Villa. I think he'll be desperate to get a point. Obviously, Forest are not out of it yet. If they win, then all of a sudden they're going to create a bit of a gap between them and the bottom three. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dyche goes there and they park the bus because they can't score goals. Yeah. So for me, it could be sort of 0-0 or maybe Everton will sort of pinch a goal, but otherwise, if Forest get ahead, I think that'll be their home record in recent weeks or months has been pretty good. If they go ahead, Forest, they'll park the bus, and I think Everton will find it difficult. So it's going to be I think a very slim home win or potentially a low scoring draw.
Yeah, unbeaten in 8 at home, not Forest. That's what's kept them in it. So I don't see them losing this. Now, the big game of the weekend, Steve, Liverpool, Man United. Which way do you see it going? Yeah,
look, looking forward to it. It's, Liverpool have just sort of woken up a little bit, got 1 or 2 players back. United, ignoring the first half last night, have been fantastic since the World Cup. They really have. Deservedly won. Rashford's on fire. I can see there being goals. This is always one of the season's highlight games, and I think Liverpool a few weeks ago might have struggled a bit more, but I've got a feeling this could be in my fantasy league I predicted 2-2 for this one. I think there'll be goals. Hopefully it's an exciting game for the neutral.
Paul?
Going for the draw.
The draw, huh? Yeah, we go back to the beginning of the year. United went to Brentford, got totally annihilated. The next week we had Liverpool at home and it was doom and gloom and we turned it up. This is Liverpool's season.
Yeah, correct.
If they don't get a result, the fans will be up. I like Liverpool of the two teams. I know United have been playing well. If you can just keep I think middle of park will be crucial. Because Liverpool's is woeful, but they'll be up for this Fabinho and Henderson and be a good game. As a United fan, I'd love to put one over, but I've got a Liverpool. I fancy Liverpool. I hate to say to the two teams. Steve, Brentford, Fulham. I know you snared them to get promotion a few years ago. Yeah. I'm sure there's bitterness between the fans.
Shit stadium.
This will be a tough game.
No, there's absolutely no love lost between Brentford and Fulham. More on their part.
Okay.
But Mitrovic is back. He's not 100% fit. There's no question, but he's back.
Really played.
The big loss for us for the next 2 games is João Palhinha, who got his 10th booking against Wolves, which is a real shame because he's. I don't know if you see these Opta, the Premier League stats. As of last weekend, he'd made 20 more tackles than any other player in the in the midfield. And he scored a fantastic goal the other night.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I would take a draw. I think it's one of those games we don't want to be beaten. We're on 39 points. A point takes us up to that magical 40. Anything better than that would be a bonus, but. Brentford are unbeaten in quite a few now, so
11,
I've got no illusions it's going to be an easy game. There's a number of people seem to think that Ivan Toney, who's pleaded guilty, his ban should start now, but that's going to be weeks, I suspect, before they actually decide what they're going to do with him. And the rumour is it could be a 6-month ban. So his career is definitely going to be stalling, and whether or not before that he's going to want to go out all guns blazing. So. I think we've got to keep Tony in check, otherwise we're in trouble.
Yeah, more than likely he'll have a couple of checks on the game on the weekend. But of the two, Paulina's a massive loss. But Steve, the way he tackles, he could have got sent off the other day. He'd been yellow carded and he flew in. And I tell you what, if he hadn't have got the ball, he was off. But he's a good player. You will miss him, and if I was you, I'd be happy with a point, Steve, because this is going to be a difficult game for you. Anyway, on to the championship, which kicks off on Friday, and I'm waiting for the team. West Brom have got a goalkeeper. His name is Griffiths. He's their best goalkeeper by a long way. When he plays, they perform. They've had a guy Button and they've had another youngster in goals. When those two are playing, they've cost me money. I like West Brom, Steve, but obviously I'll be waiting for the team sheet. I know Hull City have been going well, but I think West Brom's due to make a run to get in the promotion places. 14-10 I like, Steve. What do you think?
I think West Brom had a great win last week.
Yeah.
I mean, Middlesbrough have been flying. Them and Burnley were flying at the top of the form table, and that was a big win for West Brom because they sort of stuttered a little bit. David Button was at Fulham at one point and had a few games, and was probably a few games too many, so I know exactly what you mean. But I fancy West Brom. I think Hull have been doing okay, but I think West Brom still feel that they are in the playoff race, and I think they're going to go for this one. Yeah,
I'll wait for the teams, and I'll back West Brom if
FA
Griffiths.
Cup quarter-final?
Who's that?
Was it there? Blackburn, Sheffield United.
Blackburn, Sheffield United, they both made it through. Steve, Blackburn have come right. They've unbeaten in 7. At home too, they haven't conceded in 4 games, but early kickoff I think suits them because Sheffield United, roller coaster game last night against Spurs. I think it's totally wrong that they got the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday, but I like Blackburn of the 2 teams, Steve. How do you see it?
Yeah, I did, and this is a good game because Sheffield United have had a little bit of a wobble in the league. Obviously, they got beaten at home a couple of weeks ago in the big game against Borough. But I fancy Blackburn, as you say, unbeaten in 7, just starting to get a bit of form. Ben Brereton, if he plays, and he's scoring a few goals for them. He'll be leaving in the summer, so I think he'll want to go out with a bang. I think they could just edge it, but that is obviously a foretaste of the cup game. But I think for both these teams, the league is more important for them.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a good game, big crowd, but I think Blackburn might just edge it.
Yeah. Lunchtime, I'll be watching that. Now, Cardiff, Bristol City, that a slight improvement under Sabri Lamucci, Cardiff, but they got rolled the other day. Bristol City, unbeaten. I know they got beat by Man City in the Cup during the week. 23-10 is a big price, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I only saw highlights, but I understand that they put up until City scored the second. They gave them a good game, and they've been playing well in the league and scoring goals. As you say, Cardiff had a bit of a blip last weekend after a couple of wins, but I fancy of the 2, I fancy Bristol City if there was to be a winner. Yeah,
totally agree. Blackpool, Burnley, Lancashire Derby. Not much distance between the two. Surely 6-10. Burnley is a gift, Steve.
Yeah, Blackpool, look, they want to raise their game, but they have been struggling, and they are in a bit of trouble. But Burnley are just like a sort of well-oiled machine in the league at the moment, and I think that I think they should be too strong. Neil Warnock, after playing there last week and getting heavily beaten, his first comment to the press was, "Thank goodness we don't have to play them again."
Yeah.
So I think that probably sums it up for half the teams in the Championship.
Yeah.
I can see Burnley winning that one quite comfortably in the end.
Totally agree. 6-10 in all your bets. On to our second page, and we got Huddersfield Coventry. Coventry came to Deepdale, 0-0, a tight game. I watched them last week. Steve beat Sunderland 2-1. That big boy, I don't know how to pronounce it. Was it Goyorkas, whatever? He's got to get a move. He's too good for the Championship.
I like him. Yeah, I like Goyorkas. I like him. In fact, there was a bit of talk. There's a bit of talk about, we were looking at him in January, and actually I wish we'd got him, because with Mitrovic being sort of not 100% fit, I'd sooner have him in the side than Vinicius. Coventry have had a disappointing season. I thought they were going to push on a bit from last year, but I still think of the two, I'd sort of fancy them if there was to be a winner, but I can see this being a draw.
Yeah, the only teams that have beat them recently have been West Brom, Burnley and Sheffield United. So they have played decent teams. But I agree. I thought that'd be promotion or playoff contenders. Luton, Swansea, Steve. I was going to make Luton my best bet of the weekend, but Swansea have been my bogey team. I still think Luton will win. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Luton were held the other night by Millwall in a sort of playoff game. Swansea, again, as you said, been very disappointing. I mean, they play nice football. They normally dominate possession in teams. They played the other night against Rotherham. You thought they were going to win that, and Rotherham pegged them back. I can see of the two, I can see Luton possibly edging it, but a draw would not be out of the question.
Yeah, it's hard to trust Luton every time I've gone with it. Swansea, I just can't catch, and totally agree. They should have rolled Rotherham, but 1-1. Couldn't believe what I was watching. Steve, Middlesbrough, they cost us a nice bet last week, but that was at West Brom, conceding 2 goals in the first 9 minutes. Reading woeful away from home. Surely Middlesbrough have got to get back on the winning trail.
You would think so. It was a bit of a surprising result, how I guess they conceded so early, and that obviously upset the game plan. But I think they'll bounce back. As you say, Reading score goals, but they tend to be more at home than away. And I think with Chapa Akpom score again, he's clear at the top of the goal scoring charts in the Championship. I think Middlesbrough should win that.
Yeah,
what's his name, the striker?
Chapa Akpom.
Yeah, he was an Arsenal boy.
Scottish.
Akpom, Irish, Steve, Millwall, Norwich. Millwall unbeaten 11 games at home. I watched them beat Sheffield United in a thriller 3-2. Norwich come well, won 3 of the last 4. 7th place. This is obviously promotion playoffs.
Big game.
Which way do you see it going?
Well, this is a big game. I mean, Norwich obviously are pushing to get back into those playoff places. Millwall are in one. Yeah. And as you say, unbeaten in a few. Had a big win against Sheffield. Got a point at Luton, who are obviously were above them in the league. I can't see Millwall losing at home. I mean, it's going to be a big crowd, very raucous down there. I can see Millwall at least holding them. Could edge it. After a little bit of a wobble, Millwall are coming strong again, and I just think of the two. With the crowd behind them, they might just edge that one.
Yeah, 2-0 up at Luton, and Luton pegged them back on Tuesday night. So I agree, of the two teams, I like Millwall. Steve, on the next page, we've got Rotherham QPR. QPR lost the last 4, haven't won in the last 11. Rotherham going well at home. The only team that's beat them at home has been Coventry in the last 5. I like Rotherham of the two teams, Steve. Which way do you see it going, though?
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, look, obviously QPR have now got a new manager there, and whether or not he's able to he needs to turn things around quickly. Yeah. Thankfully for them, they had a very good start. Otherwise, they really would be much closer to the bottom 3. As you say, they've got the worst run of form in the Championship in the last sort of 15 games or so. And Rotherham, again, I still think they're punching above their weight a little bit, but I fancy them. I think the odds looking quite generous, and I fancy Rotherham at home.
Yeah, I contemplated my best each way bet, but I've got a team in Spain. Sunderland, who I watched last week against Coventry, they've got some nice young players. At Man United loanee, Amad Diallo, he can play. He'll be back at Old Trafford next year. Stoke, I don't know which way to look. They've been going well. Of the two, I like Sunderland, Steve. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Sunderland have had a good run recently. Obviously came unstuck. But I think, as you say, they got Armand Diallo, who really, it showed that he could play at a higher level. It's been good experience for him, and Patrick Roberts. They had that young boy, Aaron Sims, who they sent back to Everton, recalled him because he'd scored a few goals for them. But I fancy of the two. I think you're right. I think Sunderland should be a little bit too strong for them.
All right, Watford, Preston, my boys squeaked another point in midweek. I can't catch your brother's team, Watford, Steve. Every time I go for them, they seem to sell me down the river. They've only won 1-7, and that was against West Brom.
Yeah. Can
they beat my Preston boys?
Look, I think they'll start as favourites, but as we know, Preston can be quite obstinate. They could dig themselves in and play for a 0-0. I think if Watford get ahead, they'll win it.
Yeah. Well,
I just think that.
We've only lost one game away from home, and that was expected at Burnley. The 5-3-2 we play always seems to get us a point away from home, but it's terrible to watch. And last but not least, Steve, this could be a relegation clash. Wigan, Birmingham City. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, Birmingham looked like they were going to pick up, and they just fallen away again. But you just wonder under Sean Maloney whether Wigan are just starting to sort of find a little bit of form. Obviously, they need to pull themselves up. I can see Wigan at least holding Birmingham. It wouldn't surprise me they cancel each other out. But it might be that just Sean Maloney is just getting a little bit more out of them, and they just pinch a win. But I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. It won't be it's not the sort of game you want to be watching.
Yeah, I totally agree. Steve, pressure time again. Last week you were on fire. Who are you going for this week?
It's a good question. I'm going to go for West Brom as my best bet. I just think, it was a huge win against Borough. If they've got their best players available, I think they should go to Hull and win. And my value bet, I'm going to go for Rotherham. I think that for me, the odds look the wrong way around there. Obviously, QPR could surprise me, but 19-10 at home, I think Rotherham, should be too strong for them.
Yeah, I totally agree, Steve. Steve, thanks as always. I'm sure we'll be talking over the weekend. Take it easy. Speak to you soon.
All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye, Steve. Bye-bye. All right, Budge, let's roll on. We've done that. We've got PSL fixtures. PSL fixtures. Look, let's get the old glasses on here.
Yeah.
Right. Friday, 7:30, Budge. Swallows entertained Pirates, who got beaten by Chiefs the other day in the derby.
Jeez, I couldn't believe the goal that they conceded. I'm sure our Pirates fans would have been in tears. Bad ball, flicked it on, keeper come out over his head. Couldn't believe it. You never know what Swallows for, but in Dobsonville, which is their home stadium, they're unbeaten in 5. Yeah. But of the two teams, I don't think there should be much home ground advantage with Pirates. They'll have the majority of the fans. I like Pirates, Paul. They're starting to score goals. They should have scored a few against Chiefs. Be a tight game, but I fancy Pirates of the two teams.
Talking about Chiefs, they're away to Richards Bay. Richards Bay are higher in the league than them.
They are. This game's in Umlazi, Paul. So Chiefs got a fair record there. But watching them of late, Paul, I watched them against Golden Arrows. They played defensively. They conceded 3 goals. There was no danger, and they conceded 3 goals. But you've got to fancy Chiefs of the two teams, Paul. But I think the draw's a major player there.
Royal AM on Saturday.
Sekhukhune. Yeah, likewise, Paul. Royal AM, this game's in Chatsworth. They don't get beat too often in Chatsworth, Paul. So a draw in Royal AM for me.
Maritzburg United are 15th. They got the visiting Cape Town City.
I like 6th. Cape Town City, Paul. I watched Maritzburg United. They got beat 2-0 by Supersport. They competed well, but once the first goal went in, the heads dropped. This won't be easy for Cape Town City, but I like Eric Tinkler. They're not a bad team. They won in Sekhukhune last week, Cape Town City. So of the two teams, I like Cape Town City.
Maruma Gallants, TS Galaxy.
Yeah, Paul, I watched them. They played in Algeria in the CAF Championship last week. They played well. They got beat 2-0, but that USM Alger, a decent home record. Yeah. They haven't played in a while, Maruma Gallants, Paul, so they've got a few games in hand. But TS Galaxy, they've got some good players. A couple of Chiefs, ex-old players are there. Another game, Paul. The draw looks a good bet to me there. Can
Stellenbosch get a point off the league leaders, Sundowns?
They shouldn't, Paul, but what team are Sundowns going to play? They've been playing in the CAF Championship. A lot of games to come. They've won the last 15 league games, Paul. Yeah. So you've got to think 8 to 10 is a good price. I just wait to see what team they're going to play. But Stellenbosch should give them a game. Steve Barker's team always have a go, Paul. But for me, I think that's a big price, 8 to 10 Sundowns.
AmaZulu a favourite even though they're away at Chipper?
Chipper fired their manager again. They fire him every 2 minutes. But
Yeah.
AmaZulu, Paul, away from home, I think they've drawn 6 and lost 2 of their last 8. Another draw on the plate, Paul. You know, we met that AmaZulu manager, spoken to 1 or 2 guys involved. They don't score many goals, Paul, other than beating Chiefs 4-0. You know, they haven't done too well, AmaZulu. This is a great chance for Chipper in relegation trouble, but a draw, another player for me there, Paul.
Super Sport?
Yeah, I think 8 to 10 is a gift, Paul. Very direct team. You know, Krobler missed a penalty, and from the rebound, Paul, the left foot volley was world class. Yeah, very direct. You know Gavin's teams, but they don't mess around. Some good players. Arrows, you just never know what you're going to get, Paul. But one thing they do is they concede goals. So 8 to 10, Super Sport United all day for me.
All right, let's look at your bets. Your soccer
Yeah,
sixes
Paul,
and
we do
tens.
KZN score 6, and I'm banking Man City to beat Newcastle. I think Aston Villa will be too good for Crystal Palace. I've gone Brighton and Hove Albion win and draw at home against West Ham United. I've thrown the draw in with Chelsea and Leeds United and ended up with 2 fields. Much as I fancy Tottenham in my exotic, I'm going the field with the Wolves, Tottenham, Southampton, Leicester game 2-1-6.
Alrighty.
On to our second soccer 6. I'm going the field in the Blackburn Sheffield United game, banking Man City to beat Newcastle. Going for Getafe, my value bet of the weekend to beat Girona. Going the field in the Richards Bay Kaizer Chiefs game. I don't see Royal AM losing at Chatsworth Stadium against Sekhukhune United. And I don't see Cape Town City losing to Maritzburg United, Harry Gwala, 2-1-6. On to our score 10 for the weekend. Start off with a few bankers. I think Man City will beat Newcastle. Arsenal will beat Bournemouth, and Aston Villa will be too good for Crystal Palace. I've got Brighton and Hove Albion win and draw at home against Leeds United, as well as Chelsea win and draw at home against Leeds United. On to our second page, I don't see Tottenham losing at Wolves. The field in the Southampton versus Leicester City match. I think Bayern Munich will beat VfB Stuttgart. I think I've gone the field, Fiorentina against AC Milan, and I'm going Atletico Madrid. Win and draw at home against an improving Sevilla, 288. On to our soccer 13, I'm going Southampton, win and draw against Leicester. Slew of bankers, Arsenal to beat Bournemouth. Chelsea to beat Leeds United, Aston Villa to beat Palace, Tottenham to beat Wolves, and Brighton to beat West Ham United. I don't see Coventry City losing at Huddersfield Town. On to our second page, I'm banking Luton to beat Swansea and a host of home win and draws. Millwall at home against Norwich City, Rotherham against Queen's Park Rangers, Sunderland win and draw at home against Stoke City, Watford win and draw at home against Preston North End, and Wigan Athletic win and draw in the relegation battle against Birmingham City, 256.
All right, Budgie's bets.
Budgie's bets, Paul, here we go. I'm going Aston Villa to beat Crystal Palace and Tottenham to beat Wolves, and over 2.5 goals and both teams to score no in the Arsenal-Bournemouth game, so it's 3-0, 4-0, whatever. But Bournemouth...
Sorry. I don't know if you left something out. Aston Villa and Spurs have to win.
Both to win, yeah. And
then
over 2.5 goals and both teams to score, no.
What game is that?
Arsenal-Bournemouth. Oh, sorry, it's not on the sheet. It's on the screen.
Sorry.
Apologies.
That's
Arsenal-Bournemouth. Apologies.
Okay, got you.
And that was 3,200 at 200. That seems to have been omitted.
Okay.
Our Premiership team goal sides, I'm going Man City, Aston Villa, Southampton and Tottenham, all to score over 1.5 goals.
Man City, Aston Villa, Southampton. Southampton, eh?
Yeah, the way Leicester have been defending, this is make or break for Southampton for me, so I'm chancing them 3,400 to 200. On to our Championship treble, I'm going Burnley to beat Blackpool and Middlesbrough to beat Reading, and over 2.5 total goals in each game. So both games have to be a minimum of 3 goals. And so Burnley and Middlesbrough, they both have to win, and there has to be a minimum of 3 goals in the game.
Win.
And Luton Town to win,
2,300.
Yeah, fancy Luton against Swansea. Both teams to score sides are Millwall Norwich, Rotherham QPR, Sunderland Stoke, and Wigan Birmingham City.
Wigan to score, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll score, Paul. They've got to. If they don't win this game, relegation beckons. So that was 2,400 to 200.
The omelette.
On to Spain, I've taken a fiver because this West team should not get beat. Real Sociedad on Friday should be too good for Cadiz. I'm going Mallorca. I've won their last 5 home games to be too strong for Elche. And these following clubs to both teams to score. I'm going Getafe Girona, Rayo Vallecano, Athletic Bilbao, and Osasuna Celta Vigo. 4,400 at 200. I couldn't believe the price, so on we go. And our Collis King 6 on Ixa. I'm going Arsenal to beat Bournemouth, Aston Villa to beat Crystal Palace, Burnley to beat Blackburn, Middlesbrough to beat Reading, Real Sociedad to beat Cadiz, and Inter Milan to beat Lecce. 2,400 to 200. Paul.
Very good, Budge. That's excellent. Well, let's see what happens, because it's all coming to ahead. And don't forget, next week we're starting the new last one, saying the final one for the season. There's still 8 people left and 3 girls trying to get through this weekend. Till next time, stay on side.